We have already discussed the classification of clauses into principal clause or independent clause and subordinate clause or dependent clause. Now we are going to take a look at another categorization of clauses based on the function of clauses. And based on the function, clauses can be classified into noun clause, adverb clause, adjective clause, and conditional if clause. So now we are going to discuss in detail about each of these four clauses: the noun clause, adjective clause, adverb clause, and the conditional if clause. First, the noun clause. A noun clause is also known as a nominal clause. It performs the function of a noun in a sentence. It can appear in positions where a noun usually appears, and the most common function of a noun is either as a subject or as an object in a sentence, and in both these positions we can see the nominal clause or the noun clause. To take an example of a sentence consisting of a noun clause, Rahima said that she wanted to become an author. The noun clause is given in bold letters here. The independent clause is Rahima said, and the dependent clause is that she wanted to become an author. The finite verb in the main clause, as you can see, is said. Rahima said. And the finite verb in the subordinate clause is wanted. And if you take a look at the function of this subordinate clause in this particular sentence, you can see that it acts as an object to the main verb of the principal clause, said. Rahima said. Said what? If we put the question what to this main verb, we get the answer that she wanted to become an author. Hence, this entire clause is acting as an object to this verb said, and hence it is a nominal clause acting as an object in this complete sentence. After noun clause, we are moving to the second type of clause, that is adverb clause. An adverb clause is a clause that modifies the verb in the main clause. To take an example, Hari came to meet me at the station when I was leaving for Chennai. This is the complete sentence. It has two parts. The main clause or the independent clause is Hari came to meet me at the station, and the subordinate clause is when I was leaving for Chennai. So if we look at the function of this subordinate clause, when I was leaving for Chennai in this particular sentence, we can see that it specifies the time at which the action mentioned in the main clause came took place. Hari came to meet me when? When I was leaving for Chennai. So it specifies the time of the action in the main clause, and therefore we can say that when I was leaving for Chennai is the clause that functions as an adverb clause of time. It is identified as an adverb clause of time. Let's take another example. I was not able to attend the function because I was ill. The main clause is I was not able to attend the function, and the subordinate clause is because I was ill. And here, because I was ill acts to modify or give the reason for the main action was not able to attend the function, and therefore it can be called an adverb clause of reason. It gives the reason for the action mentioned in the independent clause, and therefore it is an adverb clause of reason. And if you recollect what we discussed about adverbs in our session on form class words, you might remember that certain words like because are given in that section as adverbs of reason. It's not because this word itself acts as an adverb, but it acts as the beginning of an adverb clause. That is why this particular word is mentioned as an adverb of reason in your first session on form class words. After the adverb clause, let's move on to the next kind of clause, that is the adjective clause. Let's look at the details about adjective clause. An adjective clause is also known as a relative clause. It functions as an adjective. In a sentence, an adjective clause functions as an adjective. So the function of an adjective clause is to modify nouns and pronouns. To take an example, Nisha, who is my neighbor, is an actress. This is the sentence. It consists of two clauses. Nisha is an actress is the independent clause. Who is my neighbor placed in between is the subordinate clause. So the subordinate clause here is placed in between the words of the main clause. So please read the main clause once again. Nisha is an actress is the main clause. The subordinate clause is who is my neighbor. So what is the function of this subordinate clause within this complete sentence? The subordinate clause who is my neighbor functions to describe the noun Nisha. So it acts as an adjective in this particular sentence. Its duty is to describe the noun Nisha. Who is Nisha? She is my neighbor. Now let's take a look at another sentence. I know the person who wrote that article. Again, the independent clause here is I know the person. The dependent or the subordinate clause is who wrote that article. So the function of the dependent clause who wrote that article is to give details about the noun, the person. So who is the person? He is the person who wrote that article. Hence, this is an adjective clause or a relative clause. The next type of clause after adjective clause is the conditional if clause. So what do you mean by a conditional if clause? It is used to express conditions. Example, if you see dark clouds in the sky, you can expect rains. So here a condition is given. If you see dark clouds in the sky is the if clause, and the main clause is you can expect rains. So here the if clause is the subordinate clause. It shows the condition. To take another example, if my father gives me permission, I can come. Here the main clause is I can come, and the subordinate clause is if my father gives me permission. It's called the subordinate clause because it shows the condition. I can come only if my father gives me permission. In the first sentence, you can see that the if clause is used to express cause-effect relations, whereas in the second clause, we can see that the if clause is used to show that a certain action will be done provided certain conditions are fulfilled. Another point you must remember about the if clause is that it is a kind of an adverb clause or an adverbial clause. So let's just take a look. The first sentence, you can expect rains. When can you expect rains? If you see dark clouds in the sky. So the if clause actually modifies the action mentioned in the main clause, and therefore it is a kind of an adverb clause. Similarly, I can come is the independent clause. Under what condition can you come? If my father gives me permission, I can come. Again, the action is modified by the if clause. If clause is actually mentioned in your textbook under adverb clause also. If you check your textbook, you can see that the if condition sentence is mentioned as an example under adverb clause as well. So you must remember this point.